was thinking about this the other day. Why do we go back to things we already know don't work? Not once, but over and over again. Same routine, same, I'll do it differently this time. And you know it doesn't work, it doesn't land, but you still go back there. There's a reason you keep going back, and once you see it, it changes everything. Today we talk about why do we keep going back, repeating the same old habits in midlife that don't work. If you've been telling yourself it's fine, but deep down you know something needs to change, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Pursue Your Spark podcast, and I'm your host, Heike Yates. This is a show for the in-between seasons of midlife, where we uncover the habits and comfort zones keeping you stuck and move you towards strength and action without forcing a reinvention. So by show of virtual hand, who already can relate to this topic? Because if you're honest, you already know it doesn't work. So the real question isn't, what should I do? It's why do I keep going back to it? And you can fit in it with anything, habit building, nutrition, exercise. This is your it. But there is a cost of constantly starting over. There's something that will be nagging on you. And this is where it starts to show up in our real life in a real, very real way. You start the week super motivated because this time it's going to work. And then a few days later, you fall off the proverbial wagon. You shake your head, you're frustrated, and you're saying, man, I'm just not cut out for this. This is the third or the fourth time I started, and you feel like you failed yet again. And this proverbial hamster wheel, as I like to call it, this continuing starting over, it slowly stops trusting yourself. It stops you in your tracks, and you're like, wow, should I do this or should I do that? Should I rewrite my workout plan? Should I eat a different nutrition plan? What is it? Because you've learned things from your past, the things that have worked. But now they suddenly don't work anymore. But we don't want to throw them all out. But we don't want to keep going over and over. And you hesitate to even begin because a little part of you is already thinking, what's the point? I'm already going to fall off that wagon again. And what do I actually know? Is that what worked before is not working, and I don't really know what works now. And you compare yourself to who you used to be. Yeah, back in your 30s, when routines felt easier, motivation just came by the wink of an eye, and it felt so natural, and consistency didn't feel hard at all. And I see this pattern all the time with women in midlife. It's the Monday again, or day one, you're all in. Midweek, you miss a workout or life gets overwhelming. And then it's Friday and you say, I'll just start all over again next week. At some point, it stops being about the routine. It starts becoming about how you see yourself. And this is where it gets interesting because this pattern is not random. There's rarely something random about the patterns that I've encountered in my 40 years as a midlife fitness expert and nutrition coach. There's always a reason that's behind it. And sometimes it takes a little while to figure out what that reason is, because we women are really good at covering things up and not really showing what's going on because we want to be strong, we want to be confident. But I love to use my onion analogy where I peel back the layers and I look at the onion, and the more I peel back, the more I may cry. And that's what happens when you peel an onion. But also when you really are honest with yourself, that in this case, you're not going back because it works. You're going back because it's familiar. And familiarity is something that is really important to all of us. When something is familiar, we're feeling that we're in control. We know what's going on. We know what we can predict. We know what's the next step that we can anticipate, or even veer off course when it's not working. But in this case, when we're not reaching our goals, we might feel that the structure is a safety net. But you're chasing how it used to feel, like you're in control, you're on track, you got that air quotes, willpower. But your life and your energy are different now. And we keep forgetting that things have changed, that we now need to approach something a little bit differently in our life, that it fits better for where we are now. You're not stuck because you don't know what to do. And recently I was interviewed on a podcast and we talked about that feeling stuck. Even though we have so much information, we have been inundated with so much information our whole lives. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 65 now, and I have my fair share of fitness and nutrition advice and how-tos and when or what and for how long and all the good stuff that has worked in the past. And I've gathered, and you are too, have gathered all this knowledge that we own, but you're stuck because part of you is still trying to go back to this past version of you, to the past version of what works, to the past version of knowing for sure within a week you losing 10 pounds. Back in the days, I'm sure that some people achieved that, or that you can bang out that training for a marathon, or whatever it is that you are stuck with right now and you keep going back. If I were to go back right now to my old marathon training program, I would fail miserably because I haven't run in 3 years, number one. And I don't feel like I want to put in that intensity that I had back then. I need something that fits my life now. I want to stay healthy and strong as I age and still really have a great, strong body that takes me to wherever I go. So when you think about yourself, be honest. What is it that holds you stuck? What is it that you can do maybe moving forward and out of this familiar structure that keeps us safe but yet stuck? So what do you do with it? Because trying harder isn't going to fix this. As I just said earlier, if you keep going back to the same diet, the same workout, you are not getting the same results. But I want you to also keep in mind that the time that you've learned all these things and applied all these approaches is not lost. When I said earlier that I talked on a show about this, is that we have learned a lot from the processes we've gone through, that we have learned bits and pieces that already back then worked and didn't work. Like, for instance, how to do a proper squat. That's something you can take forward with you. The result of the squat may vary now that you're in midlife, but may as it be, the technique is still something you can rely on, or how to build a healthy meal or have protein with every meal. That is something that you can take forward, but maybe your meal needs to have different proportions and fewer carbs and more vegetables than they used to have in the past. And that brings me to, as always here, Pursue Your Spark. We want to take action. So let's get into our action. But we're keeping this, as always, simple and doable. I just recently had a conversation with one of my clients that I have not seen since before COVID. So it's been quite a few years. And she came to me and she says, Heike, I need help. I can't do it by myself. I don't know what to do. And I need accountability and I need ideas and on and on. And I said, the best way to do is to actually set up an appointment with me, and then we'll talk and we'll hash things out. So as she comes to me and she tells me all the things she's doing, is like one day she does Qigong, then she goes to water aerobics, then she does another strength class. And she says, Heike, I have all the equipment at home. Your studio looks just like at home. I have a magic circle, I have weights, I have everything, but I look at everything and I really don't know what to do. And here was the key question. And she says, what is the best thing that will help me right now and to reach my goal? And her goal was to get in much better shape. She has recently retired, early retirement. And she said, I am in the process of losing weight, and she's working with a dietitian. This is great. But she's not seeing the results that she thinks that she should have at this point, doing something every day. And really, according to what she said, I'm really honing in on my diet. And let me tell you guys, I tell you the same thing. There is no best exercise to reach your goal, but instead is how we approach where we are now. So in our conversation, I said, well, keep doing all the things you're doing. Keep working with your dietitian to hone in on what specifically it is, that how you guys approach this, and keep me posted. But let's get away from why I'm not reaching my goals based on the best exercise, the best this and that and the other, or the best food to eat. There is no such thing. The fitness industry makes us believe, and yes, I'm part of the fitness industry, but I'm speaking up against it. And I have done this in a while now. And if you're listening to any episode where I was a guest as well, I'm speaking out against the beauty and fitness industry about making us believe that we should reach certain goals, that we just won't, because our bodies are different, our shapes are different, our metabolisms are different. Our DNA is so different from one another that the goals we set, we may have found on Instagram, we may have heard about it, or we read in a magazine about it, or we just imagine that this is how it's going to be. That if I find the best exercise and the best nutrition plan, this is what's going to happen. But here's what I told her too, and I'm telling you now too, and I dive more into the action steps in just a second, is be realistic. Peel back that onion and say, hey, you know, what is really realistic of what I can achieve at my age, my body shape, and my lifestyle? Because that's what the bottom line, it comes down to, why the old patterns and habits don't work, and you go back to them. They're familiar, as I said earlier, and what worked before should work now. And I told her too, I said, let's make a plan. You keep going with what you are already doing, and then we will meet. But let's get away from, I need to do a certain thing. And one of the things she also said, I have these big thighs. How can I get rid of those big thighs? And my answer was, be proud of those big thighs. They're strong, they're capable. She's a horseback rider. I'm like, you can ride with those legs. Amazing. They're probably super strong if you're a horseback rider. Be proud of what you have instead of always looking at, I need to minimize this. I make this smaller. I need to shrink this, including yourself. Let's stop doing this and let's make a difference into going forward. So what we're doing now works within the perimeters of what we can do that is realistic. So let's do one mindset shift. Super simple. Stop asking, what should I do? Just like the example with my client. Start asking, what would support me today? It is about the feeling that you recreate, not the routine that you have. When I think about when I was an ultra marathon runner and I ran trails, what I always felt was the feeling of freedom. Not that I ran, bazillions of miles through the woods, but it was that feeling being outside, the feeling of freedom, that feeling that gave me energy, but just doing it. Because one of the things that I hear all the time is, Heike, I don't have enough energy. Create the feeling, not the routine. So I'm curious to hear what it would be for you, and I want you to reach out and tell me what it is after you listen to this episode that you decided, the feeling that you recreated. And let's say you're planning a workout for 5 days a week. It's 10 minutes today. Start with that, not what happens the next 5 days. And instead, make those 10 minutes your anchor for going forward. It's totally fine to have a plan, but it's totally not fine when you keep telling yourself you're falling off the wagon. Stick with those 10 minutes. Tomorrow may be a different day. Tomorrow you could maybe do a half an hour of strength training. That'd be great. Have your plan that you can follow easily and not feel frustrated when things don't happen. Scale back your expectations of the quick win, the quick fixes. Again, another one of my hot button topics. Stop looking at that. Be inspired by what you could do. And currently everybody's doing pull-ups, and I can't do a pull-up if my life depended on it. And even during my days as a bodybuilder, I could do 3 at the most, but I was really, 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 really working on that. And that was my plan for bodybuilding also. And I want you to think of when you have those, like Mondays, the 10 minutes of hiking or walking, right? And you know you can fit this in. This is great. Be flexible in your consistency. Adjust without stopping. That means if Monday was great, on Tuesday, you did your 30-minute strength training workout, and on Wednesday, all hell broke loose, do the next best step. If you had Wednesday's routine to be a Pilates class, maybe do it Thursday, or do a few roll-ups and be done with it. Stop beating yourself up and start looking back to what was, and keep restarting. That's where we get so stuck. And inconsistency in midlife isn't about doing it perfectly. It's about adjusting without stopping. So I want you to think of where you are right now, what you want to do, and how you can structure something that is flexible for you. You can continue without stopping and without beating yourself up. It can be done. I want you to look forward to, if you add little steps, as I always say, baby steps, I add on one baby step at a time, and baby steps add up over the long run. And yes, some people have argued, but will I ever see the big result? I don't know. Maybe your big result will change, but realistically, stick with what brings you joy. I know, like Marie Kondo, but it has to be something that fits in with you, so you're not keep going back, beating yourself up with those old, outdated plans. And when you start doing this, something inside you begins to shift. And that shift is clarity about what the next layer of your onion could be, instead of consistently and constantly starting over and feeling more frustrated and feeling more helpless and losing trust in your abilities of getting things done. Anything fails or is fleeting. We do not want to do that. We want to move forward. We want to move forward with our baby steps and letting go of the things that no longer work for us. So as I said earlier, if you're doing a kick-ass squat, keep the form. Put it in now where it feels the best for you. And that's not just the secret sauce, but this is where we need to go in midlife, instead of constantly thinking, oh, back then. So when you start doing something different, that is consistent, that is not perfect, something begins to shift within you. And this is where it all comes together. And I talk about this in my book, Pursue Your Spark, as well. And I'll leave a link for you in the show notes to take a look at my book. You're not someone who can't follow through because you've been going back to what's familiar, but you didn't know, it may have not even occurred to you that this is where you feel stuck. You've been trying to go back instead of moving forward, back to the familiar. And again, there's nothing wrong with going back to what's familiar, but if it's no longer working, we need to move forward. So let's stop going back to what's not working and stop doing what's not working. And real consistency, it doesn't come from repeating what used to work. It comes from building something that fits your life right now. And if you need help with that approach on not going back, reach out to me, email me at heike@heikeyates.com, and let's hash this out. Before we wrap up, let me ask you this. When was the last time you did something for yourself without feeling guilty about it? Because so many women spend years taking care of everyone else, pushing through exhaustion, trying to get everything right. And somewhere along the way, they stop even knowing what they need anymore. And the scary part? From the outside, it looks just like you are handling life. That's exactly what we're talking about in next week's episode with Cindy Payne. People-pleasing and perfectionism in midlife are not just exhausting, they quietly disconnect you from yourself. And this conversation is going to hit home for a lot of you.